Coming up on Colonial Sports Center, Nico Brett joins an elite group of players from RMU soccer's history.
The Hobie Baker finalists were announced for the best player in college hockey, and RMU found themselves on there a few times.
All that and more coming up next on Colonial Sports Center. Welcome to another edition of Colonial Sports Center, first of the semester.
It is.
I'm Dan Kitchen.
And I'm Ian Kist.
We actually have a score to report to you first, as the Robert Morris men's basketball team just defeated Central Connecticut State over at CCSU 59-45.
Impressive win.
Impressive win for the Colonials indeed. Speaking of the basketball team, we have Lauren Kirschman from the Beaver County Times in studio to talk about the state of RMU basketball.
We also have Kristen Kudla to break down some hockey plays from RMU's last homestand against Bentley.
But first, we're going to go over to soccer. Nico Brett ended his RMU career this past fall as one of the most decorated players in program history, and at this year's MLS draft, he became the first Colonial ever drafted above the 3rd round. Brett was selected 40th overall by the reigning MLS champions, the Portland Timbers. Brett joins Musa Shannon, a 1997 3rd-round pick, as the only Colonials ever selected in the main body of the annual draft. Brett graduates 3rd all-time in points, 1st in game-winning goals, and 2nd in total goals in program history. Brett also won 3 NEC Player of the Year awards and became the first Colonial ever selected to the NSCAA All-American team.
Robert Morris announced on Friday the hiring of Mike Miller as the new offensive coordinator for the 2016 season. Miller was a graduate assistant for the 1997 Robert Morris Colonials under current head coach at the time, Joe Walton, and was a defensive line coach in 2006, where he assisted in leading RMU to a 2nd-place finish in their conference. Miller has been on 13 National Football League coaching staffs. His last coaching stint was with Arizona Cardinals, where he was the wide receivers coach for 2007-08 season and the passing coordinator for the 2009-2010 season and the offensive coordinator for the 2009-2012 season. His last coaching experience in college was at Edinboro as the quarterbacks coach. Miller is a native of Pittsburgh and graduated from Plum High School, which so happens to be the same high school that I graduated from. Represent.
Exactly.
Last year, the RMU offense, not that great.
No,
Everybody knows it.
They had their issues.
Obviously, you like this. I like this decision by Coach Banaszak.
I think it's a perfect decision for him because, as you said it, he coached the Arizona Cardinals in 2007, 2008. The year they had 3 1,000-yard receivers, including Fitzgerald from Pittsburgh. And that's only been done 5 times in NFL history. So I think working with Matthew Barr and NEC Offensive Rookie of the Year Kyle Buss, he can turn this offense into the best in the NEC in a very short time.
I'm looking forward to it.
We're going to switch over to men's basketball, though, as they were coming off a big 24-point loss in their last home game against Mount St. Mary's, and they had just as tough a matchup again Saturday against NEC leader Fairleigh Dickinson. They were missing multiple key players with injuries, so they would need some unlikely players to step up if they wanted to contend with the Knights. Let's go to the highlight to see if they were able to do that. As tied early, we're going to see some range from Elijah Minnie, one of the best shooting centers in the NEC, and he hits a deadly 3 from Kayvon Stewart.
I can barely see him there in camouflage.
Military Appreciation Night indeed. As you see Stewart get the ball, steals, embarrasses that defender. He might still be looking for him, and then hits Stephen Whitley for a layup. FDU answered the call, though, hitting one of the first of their many 3s in the game. Then Matty McConnell takes it right back, and you know what? He might not have hops to get a dunk, but a layup's still enough. 2 points, and they're still happy with it. More defense from RMU. Minnie stone cold stops that shot, and then they're going to be bringing the pass back down, and Kayvon Stewart's going to find Conrad Stevens after a pass to Isaiah Still, and we're going to hear Stevens' name a lot more coming in the next half. Time winding down in the half, though, Stewart says, you know what, I don't need any of these other guys. I'm just going to bank in at 3 to end the half. Sending the Colonials into the locker room, down 3 points to the Knights. RMU starts the second half off similar to the first. Stewart finds Minnie, 3-pointer. That simple for RMU.
Raining 3s.
Matty McConnell comes back in, though, and he finds Billy Giles for a tough layup there. And then Stephen Whitley's going to steal the ball, more defense, bring it up, and wait for it. Wait for it. You're going to have to wait.
Waiting.
Boom! NBA Jam-style dunk from Elijah Minnie.
Then it just happens.
He just comes out of nowhere on this highlight, and then after he finishes a little bit of a flourish, staring down that defender.
That's
that
facial expression.
He just embarrassed that defender. And then Stephen Whitley finds Conrad Stevens under the hoop, and this is where the Conrad Stevens show began for the rest of the game. As we're going to see both of them again right now. Whitley's going to get the ball and then make an even tougher pass to Stevens with a flawless reverse layup there to finish off the play. See right here, perfect form right there. Coach Toole had to be proud with Stevens' performance after that. FDU started making some mistakes, and Kayvon Stewart makes them pay once again. Tough layup, looked a lot tougher than it was right there, Ian. Then Stevens wasn't done. Boy's got a jumper too. It's not just layups from him.
That's all around.
Right there, and the show's almost over. One more familiar play to everyone. Kayvon Stewart, Elijah Minnie, three-pointer, ball game for the Colonials right there. The Colonials were able to hold off the Knights by a final score of 64-58. Elijah Minnie led the way with 17 points for RMU, and point guard Kayvon Stewart recorded a double-double with 12 points and 10 assists. Conrad Stevens dominated the game late for the Colonials, shooting a perfect 100% from the field while recording 13 total points. Here's what he had to say about his performance following the game.
It's unbelievable. All the time they ask me, like, you know, why aren't you playing? Why aren't you playing? I mean, it is what it is sometimes, you know. I'm not going to play, but, you know, I'm going to be ready whenever I'm asked to step up. And they've been behind my back all year about it.
Later on in the show, we will have Lauren Kirschman from the Beaver County Times to join us to talk about the big win for the Colonials and a major award a Colonial basketball personnel member just received.
The men's hockey team traveled to conference foe Holy Cross for a weekend battle for first place in the AHC. Will the Colonials be in sole possession of first place in the conference after their game Friday? Let's take a look. Crusaders, or not, Colonials, a little pregame action. RMU down 1-0 late in the first, but a pass by Go lightly to Denham, who just tipped it right in past the defender, slow-mo, and the game is tied at 1, and we are going to be moving to the second period.
Going to hear about Denham later.
End of the second period, Greg Gibson with a sniper shot to give the
too.
Colonials the 3-2 lead. The pass and the sniper shot that we think would give the Colonials some momentum. RMU up 4-3, and the man in net, Terry Schaefer, makes a great save and clears the puck, and the score stays Colonials 4, Crusaders 3. But the Crusaders end up tying it up, but David Freeman said, "Don't worry, guys," and scored a goal with 40 seconds remaining, and the celebrations come. Almost last slow-mo. The game was back and forth action all throughout, but the Colonials were able to prevail and claim first place in the AHC for the evening. Senior Brandon Denham finished with 2 goals, but it was David Friedman who broke the 4-4 tie to give the Colonials the win. But could they hold on to first place in the conference after their contest Saturday night? Dan has those details.
Right, I do, Ian. Robert Morse took the ice that following night with the goal of further distancing themselves from the second-place Crusaders. We're going to have to go to the highlight to find out, though, if they were able to, and we'll just jump right in as just over 5 minutes into the game, Brett Mulcahy beats Terry Schaefer on a shot that just snuck right by him, and there's going to be a lot of that celebrating from the Crusaders in the game. Down 2 now, RMU answers off the shot from Matt Cope with just 3 seconds left in the first period, and Cope just comes right around the net and whips it right by the goaltender. Great shot for the Colonials. Didn't have enough of him in the game, though, as they got to the second period, and Terry Schaefer's just overwhelmed by the entire Holy Cross offense. Not many goalies going to make a save there. Last period, Greg Gibson doing all he can to get the Colonials back into the game. Power play goal with 20 seconds into the period, but there's one of 2 dagger goals from Holy Cross right there, and Holy Cross was able to easily beat the Colonials. The Colonials got down early and just could not get out of that hole against Holy Cross, falling by a final score of 5-2. Greg Gibson was the only Colonial to record multiple points with a goal and an assist. Matt Cope scored the other goal for Robert Morris, who trailed the entirety of the game after the first Crusader goal 6 minutes in. Terry Schaefer stopped 36 shots for RMU, allowing 4 of the 5 Holy Cross goals. Coming up on Colonial Sports Center, multiple Colonial hockey players received nominations for major awards, including the most prestigious award in college hockey.
We also have multiple guests in studio. Kristen Kudla will be here to break down specific plays from the men's series against Bentley a few weeks back, and Lauren Kirschman will talk about the state of the RMU men's basketball program.
All that more coming up next on Colonial Sports Center.
Need more RMU sports in your life? Check out the Colonial Sports Network live this Friday as your Robert Morris Colonial hockey team faces off against Mercyhurst. Broadcast starts at 7 p.m. on www.necfrontrow.com.
Looking for these? You drive buzzed. It could be one very expensive ride.
First, you gotta make bail. Then pay me to get your car back.
Your insurance premiums will go through the roof.
And my legal fees just keep adding up. All told, it could end up costing you $10,000.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
To Maddie, congrats on paying off all those student loans.
Finally, right?
How'd you manage that anyway?
I started tracking my spending, changed a couple of habits.
Wow, I'm kind of living paycheck to paycheck right now. I don't even know how I'm doing it.
Well, have you tried saving a little?
I want to, but where's that money gonna come from? Bill collectors, they're the worst. Am I right?
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind.
Not home.
Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org.
Welcome back to Colonial Sports Center. 3 of the men's hockey team players, Brandon Denham, Greg Gibson, and Zach Lynch, are all nominees for the Honorable Hobie Baker Award. The award is given to the top NCAA men's hockey player in the entire nation. However, the winner isn't chosen for just their hockey talent, but for everything they do off the ice as well. Denham is ranked 10th in scoring in the NCAA with 28 points and 15 goals. Gibson currently sits with 18 goals and 15 assists. Lynch is currently in second in scoring in the country so far this season with 17 goals, 19 assists, and 36 points. In the classroom, the trio is helping RMU to one of the highest grade point averages in college hockey. You can vote once a day at www.facebook.com/thehobie. The current fan voting will continue until March 6, 2016, and phase 2 of the voting will begin March 17, 2016.
Those 3 weren't the only players who had good contributions off the ice, as RMU men's hockey player David Friedman sits tied for 18th in the nation with 27 points, but it is those very actions off the ice that are earning him an award nomination. Friedman is one of the 18 finalists for the BNY Mellon Hockey Humanitarian Award, given to a player based on their contributions to the community through volunteering, their academic performance, and with their on-ice abilities. Friedman is a 3-time AHC All-Academic Team honoree and a role model for local children in the Pittsburgh area through the CC Champions organization. Plenty of Colonials received award recognition in part because of their on-ice play, and joining us in the studio now is Kristen Kudla to help break down some of those very plays. Kristen, what do you have for us?
Well, thanks a lot, Dan. Now, you mentioned him before. David Freeman, a very key player in this game that we're going to be breaking down here. But Spencer Dorwitz, this is from their Bentley game, their 5-0 victory. He draws those 4 defenders out, and David Freeman right here is going to have that wide open opportunity right up the ice. He's going to receive that pass from Dorwitz. Now stop it right here. Once again, here's that 4th defender. Now he's almost parallel with Freeman, which is going to give Freeman the upper hand as he splits the defenders coming up. Now this is something that the Colonials love to do. They love to send the 2 wingers to crash the net, and you're going to see Rob Mann coming from the opposite side along with Freeman to kind of create that 2-on-1 opportunity. Now the Colonials love to do this because they love to get the shots off the pads of the goaltender, and by having those 2 wingers go and crash the net, it's a great opportunity to either get the one-timer or get the rebound and get the second chance opportunity. Now the second play we're going to be breaking down, once again, Freeman bringing it up the ice, except this time he's going to use Brandon Denham to kind of block and keep number 11 out to create a 3-on-2 opportunity. Now Freeman is going to pass it down to Brady Ferguson. Now this is where the puck handling happens. Friedman is right in front of these two defenders here, and what's going to happen, he's going to go forehand, backhand, and right under the pads of the goaltender. And we're going to see a replay one more time, slow-mo. Now right here, front, now stop. Right there is going to go right and just hits it just enough under the pads of the goaltender. And it was a great play by all involved, and I expect to see that continuing into this weekend. And that was just a little bit of an in-depth look into those plays, and hopefully those plays can continue and those players can step up into this weekend when they do face off against Mercyhurst. Mercyhurst has always kind of given them a little bit of trouble in seasons past, so it's going to be interesting to see how all of these players kind of step up into their roles this weekend.
The women's basketball team took on Fairleigh Dickinson this past Saturday in a home contest at the Charles L. Soule Center. The Colonials went into the game undefeated in NEC play. However, Robert Morris was unable to stay undefeated in conference play, suffering a 15-point loss, 83-68. Both teams went into the locker room at halftime tied at 29, but RMU was able to stay with the Knights, getting outscored in both the third and fourth quarters. Junior Ananiki Stambalamprou led the team in points with 21. Fellow junior Janae Brown finished second in scoring with 10 points. FDU was led by Kelsey Cruz, who finished with 30 total points. The Colonials shot 33.8% from the field and 22.6% from downtown. The Colonials took on Mount St. Mary's 48 hours later.
The RMU women's basketball team had a much more favorable matchup against NEC opponent Mount St. Mary's, one of the lowest teams in the conference. A win would help the Colonials keep pace in the heated race for the conference championship, where they are racing with 3 other schools. Let's go to the highlight there. They need this win if they're going to keep pace. And the Colonials starting off well. I think they knew that because Rebecca Navarro is just going to drain a 3 for the Colonials. And the good shooting continues into the second with a Leah Warmack shot from just above the charity stripe. Rattles right in. Rebecca Navarro fights off a board and finishes the play right there. And then Ananiki Stambalamprou uses her speed, her best weapon, to get to the hoop right there. And then we get another layup here from Jocelyn Jones. Colonials settling for good shots as we go into the second half. Some nifty moves in the paint from Megan Smith as she gets the basket right here. And then we get another inside shot from Michaela Moraine. And then the three-point battle ensued. Mount St. Mary's gets one. Megan Smith answers right back. And then Leah Warmack takes the battle back inside, where she will get a good shot off right there for the score. And then the final quarter, up in a close game, get a half-court pass, and then Ashley Ravelli hits the jumper, helps put the game away. Just about 2 minutes left at that point for the Colonials. It may have been closer than they wanted, but the Colonials were able to complete their victory 61-56. 3 Colonials reached double figures in points. Jocelyn Jones led all Colonials with 12 points and completed the double-double by adding 10 rebounds as well. Ananiki Stambalamprou and Leah Warmack were both able to put in 10 points for Robert Morris.
The women's hockey team took on 4th-ranked Quinnipiac Bobcats Friday in Game 1 of a weekend series in Hamden, Connecticut. The Colonials were unable to tame the Bobcats as the 4th-ranked team was able to defeat the Colonials 3-2. Quinnipiac scored 1 goal in the first period by Nicole Costa and sprung their lead to 3-0 in the second period via goals from Lindsay West and Megan Turner. The Colonials made a late-game push for a comeback as sophomore Natalie Fraser and junior Ricky Moeller netted third-period goals to cut their deficit to 3-2. However, Quinnipiac was able to hold on for the victory. The Colonials had one more chance to tame the number 4 team in the country, the Bobcats, the following day.
Yeah, unfortunately though, Ian, the Colonials weren't able to split the series against Quinnipiac over the weekend, getting shut out in the second game 2-0. Jessica Dodds recorded 25 saves for Robert Morris, holding the game to a scoreless tie until early in the third period. Robert Morris was stifled offensively, getting only 14 shots off on Bobcat goalie Sydney Rossman. No Colonial was able to record more than 2 individual shots during the game itself. Coming up on Colonial Sports Center, Lauren Kirschman from the Beaver County Times sits down with us to talk about RMU basketball.
We also have the upcoming schedule for Colonial Athletics, and you don't want to miss it.
May even have a prediction in there.
Maybe.
Maybe, we'll see.
G-morning, sunshine. Wakey, wakey. Text me. Are your parents home later? We can hang. LUV, love you. JK. Holla back. Holla back. Holla back. Are you with your friends? That's lame. We're in a huge fight right now. XO. What'd you dream about? Something I did? Are you on your way to the mall? I'm lonely. Nude pics. Send me some. Text me.
I'm starving. What's for breakfast?
Guten Tag!
Johannes, Franz!
I bring you arts-enriched Raisinblums, fortified with increased test scores and creative problem-solving skills.
It's good!
And good for you. Bobby? Susie? Don't worry, that's just the power of the art!
Feed your kids the arts. For 10 simple ways to learn how, visit AmericansForTheArts.org.
You ever think about buying a bigger place?
Just waiting for a visit from the credit fairy.
There is no credit fairy.
How else will I get a better credit score?
Look, you keep your credit card balances low and only open a new card if you really need it.
No fairy?
There's no magic to improving your credit, but there's help, and it's free. Go to creditfairy.org.
Yes, ready, ready.
Oh, come on, Randy. Animal shelter, here I come. And no, I'm not crazy or emotionally damaged. That's a stereotype. I just belong to a total loser. I'm a good dog. So if you want a pet, adopt. And if you see Randy, tell him he dropped his wallet.
Welcome back to Colonial Sports Center. In studio, we have Lauren Kirschman, the college sports reporter for the Beaver County Times with us. Lauren, thank you for being on the show.
Happy to be here.
Now, Lauren, you've written a lot about college basketball recently, and this Robert Morris team hasn't really done what they were supposed to. They were supposed to be competing for the NEC title this season, yet they've been down near the bottom of the conference most of the year. Why do you think the Colonials have been underperforming so far?
I think people kind of underestimated coming into this season the players that they lost in Lucky Jones and Marquise Reed. Lucky Jones was kind of a do-everything guy for this last year's team. Marquise Reed was obviously a really good scorer for them. And I think coming into the season, they expected maybe these freshmen to settle in and score more than they have so far, and maybe somebody else to step up as a leader, and I don't think that's really happened. So I think that's where you've kind of seen the struggles so far this season.
This past Saturday against FDU, they were down 3 at the half after being down 26-13. They made it close towards the end. They seemed like they played like a team, which they've been criticized about in the second half. What do you think the cause of that was? What did you see?
I think that maybe there was a little bit of a wake-up call that happened there in that Mount St. Mary's game, and I think that they were a little bit of embarrassed by their performance. So I think they came out against FDU and were able to do the things that Andy Toll has been talking about this entire season, which was bring the energy and bring the urgency and kind of keep that consistently throughout the game. So I think what you saw in that game, especially in the second half, was them kind of responding to that wake-up call that they got against Mount St. Mary's.
Right. And after that Mount St. Mary's loss, they had to come back. They had to play tough against Fairleigh Dickinson to keep pace and show they could still beat NEC opponents. And to come back, Conrad Stevens, a walk-on player with 14 minutes of career playing time, spearheaded it and shot 100%. Do you think that Conrad's going to get more playing time after that basically coming out party against FDU?
I think he will. I don't know how much of it is going to do with that breakout performance and how much of it is just going to be necessity with the amount of injuries that they have and the fact that they didn't have a lot of depth to begin with on this team. But I think that definitely a performance like that allows Andy Toll to have more trust in him going forth for the rest of the season. So I think you might see him getting lengthier minutes earlier in the game in spurts where Andy Toll feels like he can trust him to make an impact.
Back to the second half team that we saw Saturday. That team looked like they could go for back-to-back NEC championships, and that was without senior Rodney Pryor due to injury. When he comes back, what do you think their chances are to get another ring?
I mean, the thing that's going to be tough for them is that they put themselves in such a hole. It's going to be really difficult for them to get the home court advantage that they've had these past few seasons, whether it's for the first game or first 2 games. It's going to be difficult for them to have any of that advantage at all. So I think that just fighting through that is going to be their toughest challenge. They've won 2 games in a row now. They've got a little bit of momentum. So if they can build on that, I mean, anything can happen in the tournament. They definitely have the talent to do it. It's just a matter of if they can put it all together.
Let's switch over to the women's side of things. Your organization recently named RMU women's basketball coach Sal Biscaglia your sports person of the year. What went into that decision, and how did Coach Sal stand out from among all of the candidates you could have chosen?
What made him really stand out is not so much his on-the-court accomplishments, which are great, and he's obviously built this program to where it's consistent and very, very good every season. But it's just his kind of passion and the way he pushes for women's athletics off the court, the way he kind of stands up for these athletes and demands that they get attention, and not just for the basketball program, but for women's athletics here and in general. So that really made him stand apart, and just the fact that he has such a passion for that off the court, and he does so much for women's athletics. He's worked in women's athletics his entire career. He's never coached men, so he was just a really interesting story, and his passion for that is really what set him apart.
Now, do you think that since he's pushing to get the women's basketball team recognized as much as the men's, with how successful the women's team has been recently going to the NCAA tournament, do you see that team starting to gain more awareness across the nation?
I think people are starting to pay a little bit more attention to them. I mean, especially with what they've been able to do on a consistent basis in the NEC. It's not that they're just up there every once in a while. It seems like they're at the top every season, no matter who they're putting on the floor. So I think they're definitely starting to get more attention locally, and I think that'll start to spread as they continue on.
All right, Lauren, thank you for coming on the show with us.
Thank you for
your
having me.
insights as well.
Thank you.
And coming up on Colonial Sports Center, we're going to look at the upcoming games for Robert Morris and maybe even offer a prediction or two. Maybe. We'll see. Stay tuned.
These boys are my heroes. They come every week to spend time with my children.
At Robert Morris University, every student is expected to reach out to others.
They can teach them something no one else can. Wisconsin. They're role models to the children, and homework comes way before sports. Their grades have improved, and their lives are just a bit richer.
Okay.
What they do for my kids is truly wonderful.
Change someone's life. It changes yours forever. Robert Morris University.
I call them my lifeline.
People don't realize how quickly you can end up on the street. One thing happens in your life, medical bills you can't pay, you lose your job, and that's it.
At Robert Morris University, every student is expected to reach out to others.
We went to DC to work with the homeless. They sell a newspaper called Street Sense. Thought I'd help.
But if you want to give more, you can.
This person came up to me and said, "Get a job." And for 2 hours, I felt what it was like to be homeless.
Good morning. $1 help.
Some of the other students said, "How can we change this?" And I said, "Sometimes you can't change the world, but you may be able to change one person's world." My dream? Open a psych clinic for people on the street.
Change someone's life. It changes yours forever. Robert Morris University.
Colonials are going to be in action again for the upcoming week. Let's go ahead and look and see who they will be playing and when.
Action-packed.
Action-packed, exactly.
Friday, January 22nd, women's hockey at Penn State, 7 p.m. Then we have men's hockey, the anticipated game against Mercyhurst at 7:05 p.m. Dan.
4 teams are in action on Saturday. Women's basketball will be at Bryant. Women's hockey will be at Penn State. Men's hockey will be versus Mercyhurst, and men's basketball will be playing at Bryant. So men's hockey, the only team at home.
And then Monday wraps the upcoming schedule for the Colonials as the women's basketball team travels to Connecticut to take on Central Connecticut State at 7 p.m.
All right, Ian, quick prediction. First game, men's hockey versus Mercyhurst. Big series. Who do you got?
Win 4-2.
All right, I'll go win 3-1 on the second game. That's all for Colonial Sports Center. Be sure to tune in next week for more highlights in action from the RMU Week in Sports.